At this moment in my life, I'm at a crossroads. I feel firmly stuck. For my case specifically, it deals with my professional life, my career life, and which way my career will dictate the life I live. And as intimidating as it is, and as much as I've struggled lately with this crossroads, I think it's an important part of my life. I wanted to voice that out while I'm in this moment, while I'm in the mud, so to speak, rather than waiting until it sounds pretty or waiting until a decision's been made. And that's also why I probably sound a little sick, because this week was really tough for me and I felt like this conversation couldn't wait any longer. But before I keep going, hi, I'm Guhmmie. If you're new, welcome to the channel, and if you're not, welcome back. I'm really glad you're here. This channel was made for the sole purpose of reflecting through life with the hobby of video games kind of at the center of it all, what we enjoy about the hobby and how we can apply the life lessons to our day-to-day struggles. So if that's what you're into, make sure to stick around, and also make sure to consider liking and subscribing. But like I said, make sure I earn that. I gotta ask, and because your words matter more than you know, what was a big crossroads in your life that you got through? Whether it was last week, whether it was last year, whether it was a decade ago, I'm more than confident that your experience is gonna help someone who comes across your comment. So I'd love to read it as well. And if you like chit-chatting with people about life and video games and how they all coexist and interact with each other, I made a community Discord called Guhmmie's Garage. The link's in the description. We'd love to have you hang out. The door's always open. All right, now back to business. At this current crossroads, I feel like no matter the decision I make, I'm gonna be making the wrong one. For those that don't know, I'm a high school English teacher, and I love the act of teaching, and I want to specify the act of teaching. If you live in America, you know the public schools and public education in general. It's a weighted topic. I love my school, I love my staff, I love my students, but there are other parts of teaching that go under the radar or not as advertised, and I know that's probably the same for a lot of jobs, but nothing could prepare me for the emotional baggage that I would carry day to day after a day of teaching. My love of the craft is still there. I love creating lesson plans. I love generating discussions about critical thinking and going beyond the book. I love seeing my students make that connection to, wow, this story isn't just about what's in the pages. It can connect to our lives and our experiences. The cons, the struggles are starting to outweigh the small victories, and in teaching in any public kind of service career, that seems to be the case. Being a teacher, you're asked to wear a lot of hats. Not only are you supposed to teach the subject that you're supposed to know like the back of your hand, you're also supposed to be an emotional support, a coach, an advisor, a mentor, and a constant source of encouragement. And if you're a good teacher, you put your all into all those roles. But the cost that doesn't really get talked about much is, all right, when the final bell rings, who are you? And what do you do with your time left of the day? And I've noticed lately that I haven't had the emotional or mental or maybe even just physical energy to be a better son, a better friend, a better fiance like I could be. And that's a tough realization, and it hurts to say out loud, but it's the truth. In these moments of standing at the crossroads and looking, which way is the best way or which way is going to help me, I really have to take into consideration not only my job, but what's the legacy I want to have on my fiance, on my future family in the next couple of years? How do I want to be remembered by those people close to me? I'm stuck. I'm really stuck. And it's been a hell of a week. I've not only been just debating this really intensely, but came down with a cold. But in moments like this, I find myself appreciating the hobby of gaming more than ever. And a couple videos ago, I did talk about how gaming's not an escape anymore. And I like to see that I've grown to really live by that. Because when I game in these moments of frustration, of anxiety, of I don't know what decision to make. I'm not gaming to escape. I'm gaming to decompress. I'm gaming to take that emotional baggage off just for a little bit, place it somewhere else, put my all into this world, to this match, to this game, and work on those decisions rather than just go back and forth in my head all the time. Because after a nice session of gaming where I make those decisions, I feel just a little bit more clear-headed. I feel like I'm looking at the issue with a new lens. If you've seen my channel lately, you know I love KCD2. And I think a reason I love that game so much is because of the decisions that I make. Not only do they feel gratifying, they feel impactful, and then in return give me a feeling of, okay, I can do this for my own life. I can, in a way, RPG my own life. And that sounds really whack saying it out loud, but it makes me look at my problems in a little bit more of a black and white sense. I know most things are nuanced to where you can't do that, but video games help me see it that way in a sense. And I know this dilemma isn't unique just to me. I'm sure there are plenty of you that have had a moment where you just feel stuck. You feel like whatever turn you make's the wrong turn, and whatever turn you make might lead to a dead end. And that's not a fun feeling, and I just want you to know you're not alone in that. You're here, you're heard, your voices are heard. I'm lucky enough to have a friend or two and a family member that I can confide in. I'm lucky enough to have a beautiful fiance that helps me through this stuff. And I know that there's probably someone in your life that is willing to hear you out on this. And I think a part of this dilemma that scares all of us really is we lose a sense of our identity when we're in these moments of what decision we got to make. Me personally, I love being identified as, my identity being tied up with being a teacher. I held a lot of my teachers in high regard growing up. And the fact that, maybe, just maybe, I'm that way to some kid that I've taught, that means a lot to me. But if I were to leave teaching, how does that change my identity? Because I know I'll feel like I'm leaving or I'm betraying a part of myself. And ow, that hurts to even say, really. And not only do I think about that myself, like my identity, I think about my students that I currently have or will, have in the future. I feel like I'm turning my back on them. Maybe that's just the emotional boundary I need to set. Maybe that's something I got to work on too, but there's so much tied to my identity that makes this decision so difficult. But on the flip side, my identity is going to change regardless. When I become a father, when I become a husband, that's going to morph the way I live. And I think that's important to remember too, that just because you can't see it yet or you don't feel it yet, doesn't mean there's a new you in the future. There's going to be different processes, different ways you look at the world because of the situation you're in. And it's really hard to see that when you're in the present. It's really hard to look down the road. I know I don't need to make a decision at this very moment. I know that every job has its cons. Every job has its pros. Every choice you make is going to have its benefits, whether it's to stay or leave, whatever it might be, and it's going to have its consequences. It's going to have its negative results. But that's life. Being in this moment of a crossroads, being stuck, is something we all need to battle through. And there's no clear-cut path. There's no clear-cut method. There's no true right or wrong decision. It's really just going to come down to, what do I think my life is going to impact the most from? What kind of person do I want to be? And what do I want to suffer for? What's my why? I've said that a lot, but what's my why, and is that why worth suffering for? If you're still here at this point of the video, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been a rough couple months here at the guhmmie factory, and I really do appreciate those that stick around and watch these videos. I can't tell you enough about how thankful I am. I get to talk through my life situations, and each time I upload a video, I just feel affirmed that there are great people in this world, that I'm not alone, and that our opinions, no matter how many views, no matter how many subscribers, our opinions still matter. And the day-to-day life is still pretty glamorous if we let it be. So thank you so much for being here. If you want to join that Discord, we'd be really glad to have you. The door is always open. I love chit-chatting with y'all. And just let me know what's something you hope to get unstuck from. Whether it's a habit, whether it's a choice, whether it's the back and forth in your head. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to read it. And your voice matters. And I'm more than confident someone will benefit from reading your comment. Thank you so much. And I'll see you in the next one.